Last week, we were sitting in a bank waiting for our names to be called out. And we were sitting in these chairs. We'd taken my little niece, she's about a year and a half old. She was running around playing, smiling at people. She has like she has this huge smile, and she's very very friendly and curious, toddling around the place like a little drunkard because she can't walk straight yet. But she still runs everywhere, like just shaking around. And she had become the center of attention at the place. And there's this she went to this lady who was sitting at a chair a few chairs away, like a row away. There was a lady sitting there, and she toddled up to her and smiled. And this lady took out a chocolate, and she offered it to the kid. She like, chocolate, like this. And before my niece could grab it, I picked her up. And I told the lady, oh, no, thank you. She said, why? I said, no, we don't give, processed sugary stuff to her yet. And she said, okay. But by then, my niece had scratched my face like a little cat. And she was like, what happened? Here she was about to take something. She had no idea what it was. She didn't know it was a chocolate, but she knew it was something, in a colorful wrapper. And she wanted it, but I'd picked her up away from it. She was so angry and irritated. And then, I quietly indicated that the lady hide it away and then distract her. So then she got down, and then, I put her down back on the floor again, and she got distracted. But it took a while for this whole thing to happen. See, this is the thing, right? Like, the lady had good intentions, I guess, right? She's like, okay, I'll make a baby smile. They're here as a cute baby laughing, playing around, and, the baby will come and smile at me also and talk to me. So I'll offer her a chocolate. It's a very, it's kind of like a very normal thing to do, I suppose. But she didn't wait for a moment to even ask, like the parents or me or anybody, the adult near the kid, right? She didn't wait to ask, is it okay? She didn't check with us, is it okay to give chocolate to this kid? She didn't check to see if it's like if it's safe for the kid to have it, or it could be even, see, yes, there are things like allergies and whatnot, but also it could be as simple as maybe it's like close to meal time. It was close to meal time, it was in the afternoon, so she like, maybe it's close to meal time, we shouldn't give candy to a kid at that time. She didn't think of any of that in that moment. She just pulled out a candy from her bag and offering it to a child. Now, I of course smiled and politely declined, but I was very firm about it. And this is the way boundaries get crossed. When we talk about boundaries, having strong boundaries, and making sure to protect our boundaries in work, in life, creativity, business, wherever, whichever area of life, right? When we talk about our personal boundaries, we think that the person crossing the boundaries, not respecting the boundary, is somebody who's maybe aggressive or forceful. Which, yes, in a lot of cases that's true. But in many cases, the person who's crossing your boundary isn't realizing they're doing it. They're basically unaware of it. And they do it thinking that they're being helpful or nice or friendly or whatever, like with the best of intentions. And these are the situations where learning to say no is an art. How do you handle it? Because if somebody is being forceful or aggressive, it's very easy to be able to dismiss them, or us also being quite strong and confident and bold and forceful ourselves, like to defend our boundaries. But if somebody is doing it in a nice way, so what do? How do you handle it? And the first step is, first of all, realizing that somebody is crossing a boundary. So you are not obliged to say yes or listen to them or accept whatever it is they are offering you. In many cases, like a free advice or an introduction to somebody you probably don't want to work with, something like that, right? It could be many things, especially when it comes to business. People are always, if they like your business, if they like the work that you're doing, they're always coming with their good intentions and their own opinions, thinking that they're being helpful without really knowing what's happening in the background and not really understanding the business. They tend to do that. Or if, say, you're creating art, writing a book, doing something, people come up with suggestions which have not been invited. We didn't ask for suggestions, right? For example, recently, a friend of mine was talking about this, where they said that they were writing something, and they're not sure what it's going to be. It could be a novel, a screenplay, it could be something. They knew it's going to be something, but they're not really sure what it is, but they want to write it. So they allowed themselves to be involved in the creative process, and then when they shared it with somebody, that person immediately started directing them and giving advice and suggestions, because they're like from the publishing industry or something like that, and they're like, do this, you can do this, you shouldn't do that, change this, that. So then it's kind of like putting pressure on yourself, and then she felt very pressured, because she's like, this was like a free, chilled out activity for me. Now I'm feeling pressure to make something of it. Before, I wasn't sure whether I'm going to make something of this or not. It was just doing it for the sake of it, but now I'm being pressured to do it. So that is a crossing of boundary with good intentions, with the intention of being helpful, but really not being very helpful. So you're not obliged. First of all, you're not obliged to accept any of this or listen to these suggestions, advice, or accept something that's being given to you. Like in this case with the baby, the chocolate. You're not obliged to take it to be polite. Understanding that is important, because you have a right to your boundaries. Once you understand it and you have the confidence to say, okay, then I'm not obliged. First of all, somebody's crossing a boundary, even in a very small way, without meaning harm, but also being harmful unintentionally. So they are crossing a boundary. I have a right to have my boundary. So I'm not obliged to say yes to the crossing of this boundary in any way. And therefore, it's okay for me to say no. It's okay for me to refuse, walk away, cut the conversation, turn away from this, like very simply say no, enough. I thank you so much, but I don't need your advice. And then finally, because you are so confident and because you are making it very clear what a boundary is, you also will be able to say it in such a way that you're not being hurtful, or you're not, at least from your end, you are showing that, you're doing it in a very kind way. The saying no and the refusal comes very kindly. The reason you are able to naturally do it in a kind way is because of your confidence in yourself. So then it becomes like a matter of fact. You're not fighting for it. You're not being defensive, trying to defend your boundary. It's a matter of fact. This boundary is here. So yeah, this is what it is. And when you make it so matter of fact, the other person doesn't feel so bad either. And now, despite all this, yes, of course, there are people who will get hurt or pissed off or whatever, that's too bad. That doesn't matter. You don't have to be afraid of that. If many times when we are protecting our own, our own schedules, our boundaries, our own to being true to ourselves, right? Our authenticity. When we're protecting that, people sometimes will get pissed off. And if they do, they really weren't meant to be as a part of your life. So you definitely don't owe them anything. And of course, the more you learn to make it clear what your boundaries are, because sometimes you can't tell people, you need to show them. Only by following it yourself, believing in yourself, uh, just through your actions, your behaviors, people realize these boundaries are there, even without actually registering it as a boundary. Like, because they see you following certain things, they will also figure out that, yeah, this is the way it is. um, for example, in my case, I don't start my days early. I prefer to begin my day later in the morning, like my post brunch, everything. And then minimum noon is, even if I plan anything for the day, it's minimum noon. Nothing that says AM is allowed. So this is what it is. So I make sure everybody who knows me knows that. Like, if you've been listening to the podcast, you probably already know that I mentioned this before also. So people are very clear about that. So even if I get an opportunity to work somewhere, the person I'm working with sees this is the way I am, and they ensure that things are scheduled for the second half of the day. A few weeks ago, I was telling you about, you probably listened to the episode with my friend Chef Ram, when we were on the way to teaching a workshop at this college quite far away, this vegan cooking workshop. That was in the afternoon, and that's because the person who organized it is someone we work with quite often. It's Mudra from HSI, Human Society International, and she knows it so well now that she herself, even without checking with us, when she's organizing an event with the college, she herself ensures that it's happening in the second half of the day, which is pretty cool. And this has happened because of the example, because of just showing what we are rather than just saying it repeatedly. So show your boundaries, don't only say it. You respect your own boundaries, and automatically it gets seen. It's not even a deal then. It's not one thing. It's just who you are. That's it. That's what it becomes. So yeah, that's about it. And yes, most importantly, when you learn to set your boundaries, make them strong, then completely embrace them for who they are, and be yourself for who you are, then automatically you will start recognizing other people's boundaries, and you also won't cross them. You will know how to respect them quite easily, and you will be understanding about it. And that's important. So, in this way, we build a better culture of stronger boundaries, over time. When it comes to, yeah, life, I said, but also work, creativity, running a business, boundaries between your team members and you, between your customers and you, so much there. So yeah, that's it. Just a reminder to respect your own boundaries and respect other people's boundaries too. If you liked this episode of the Feel Good Factor, then I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, your takeaways, and also your ideas on how you make sure your boundaries are strong and respected and maintained, and how you learned over time, the hard way, the easy way, how you've learned the importance of setting your boundaries and keeping them strong and solid. So go to speakpipe.com/veganosaurus and drop me a voice note. You can tell me about this episode or any episode you love about on the Feel Good Factor, and I'll share it in one of the upcoming episodes. All right, thank you so much for listening to the Feel Good Factor. I'll talk to you again next week. Take care. Bye.